Alright, so if you get any of our control kits, the 2-player 20-button kits, or our bar top, or our stand-up machine, anything that runs a 2-player 20-button, you'll of course get our config files. You can pull those over to any image that you want for Raspberry Pi. It'll work out of the box for you. If you don't really want to mess with getting an image or figuring that piece out, you can get a micro SD card from us. It's included in our Guts kit as well as a Raspberry Pi. Or we can just get you the card with this image on it, so everything will be ready to play. You just wire it like our videos and you're good to go. If you get one of our plug-and-play systems like what this is, it'll just, all you have to do is flip the switch like I did earlier. So I want to talk through this again. This is on the Raspberry Pi 3B, but this will work on the Raspberry Pi as well. So a couple things that are different here. This has a higher hierarchy. Where the previous one just kind of went straight into the systems and collection. So here you got a top level that has the setup, all the displays. The displays are basically any grouping of games, so whether it's a console like Nintendo or Super Nintendo or your arcade games, or if it's like brands like Atari or fighter games, whatever it is, those are all considered displays on this. Real quick, I'll go into the HyperPie setup. This is my forward, this is my back here. So in here's everything you can expect. One nice thing on this is it does have the ROM media downloader, so if there's a system on here, I think it's pretty complete, but because this is a 200 gig, but if there's a system on there or media that you need, you can go there to get those, so you don't have to go out to the internet. It's just kind of ready to go. The other main thing in all these settings I'm going to show is the Wi-Fi, so you can hook in, we have USB connections on a lot of our systems, but you can just run your keyboard into it and then configure your Wi-Fi there to get it on the network. I'll go ahead and back out now. So I'm going to go, so you can see here it has arcades, all the console systems, handhelds, collections, hacks. So this is based off HyperPie 2, but I did do a lot of customization for it on load screens and of course configuring all the controls and so forth with it. So if I go into arcades, so I can go in the main arcade folder here, it'll have everything. There's also a lot of different setups, like all the Atari classics if I wanted to go into that, Nintendo classics, so it'll kind of group everything together as well for what you might be into. Daphne's on here, so Dragon's Lair, Space Ace, those games, and then also some Neo Geo. But I'm going to go into the arcade here and just show some of the functionality. I have a diagram that shows how to wire everything, including a video too, but it also shows you what all the functionality is for all these different buttons here. So real quick, so I'm in the setup here. I'll go over to all, so you can see there this is all of the arcade games. So I have the page up, page down. This will be letter up, so this will go up a letter, and then down a letter. It's doing that because it's got the word the in front of it if I page out of that. So now I can go to U, V. This is my favorites up and down, so this will just go to my favorite games here that I have set up. Another thing, this thing will make noise if you just leave it running. I always leave mine running. So if you leave yours running all the time, this is a mute button right there. The coin button here will add favorites or take away from favorites. The menu button here will pull up the menu. Come back out of that. This button right here, the mode button or hotkey button, if I press that, it'll take me all the way back out if I want to the very beginning. So that's a quick way to kind of get to the top level navigation. So I'll go back into the arcades here. So if I just push over, I'll be on my favorites list here, and again you can just add or take off favorites there as you go down through your list. This button right here will change the view, so you can see here this is the default view. If I start hitting this, it will change how that system's laid out. So if you want like you know, kind of an overlay like this or cover flow, there's a lot of different ones here. This is more of a hyperspin style. So again, this will happen with any system. see that's across the bottom now. So now I'm back to the default view. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and boot into a game. It's a Street Fighter 2 cabinet, so I guess I'll boot into that game. So you can see here it's got the launch screens for each system. You'll notice it has bezels, so all the system has the nice themed bezels, whether it's MAME or Nintendo or Genesis or whatever. So of course I can add my coins, add my players. So this will play as you would expect. There's a couple things here too. On the hotkey button down here, I can hold that down. If I push up on the joystick, it'll turn up the volume or turn down the volume. It'll also load the save state if you have one, or you can save your game as well. So to back out of any game, including MAME, you'll hold the hotkey and press exit, like that. So when we go to console systems here, mute. So when we go to console systems here, not only games, but you also can do a favorites for your system. So instead of all the systems there, you can just pull over the ones that you play the most. Pretty complete list here. I have some PlayStation 1 games on here. The other thing I did different on this one is since it's on the B+, it does emulate the Nintendo 64 a little bit better, so I did go ahead and set up the controls to run. They're set up around Mario Kart, because that's the game I really care about the most. The controller in itself, if you guys remember, is real wonky. It has a trigger underneath and all that kind of stuff, so it doesn't really translate well here. But I did go ahead and set it up, and Mario Kart plays really well on it. Not all the games emulate all that great, but this one seems to play pretty well. Just to show you here a couple systems. So if we go into the NES, which was my favorite system here. So of course everything has video snaps and the picture of the cartridges and information, all that kind of thing. So if I boot into a game, you'll see it has the load screen. I guess this is Super NES. Sorry, I'm sitting away from it so my big head's not in the way. So you can see there it loaded the custom Super NES bezel. And again, you have your select and start and all your buttons laid out there. So I can exit out of this and go back. And again, if I want to go all the way out, I can just hit the home key here. So we got handhelds. It's like your Game Boy Color, PSP minis are on here. They work on this one. And again, I could change the layout just for this if I wanted to. Back out of that. And finally, I'll show collections here. Oops, I went to favorites, I don't have any. So your top 100 collection there, Castlevania, Batman. So what a collection does is it goes out and it has all of the games, not just from arcade. It'll grab them from all the different systems, so then you can go through and look at them. So for instance, if I go into the Double Dragon collection here, so you can see that one's a Genesis, that one's a Super Nintendo, NES, so it's all the different games grouped together. And again, this is called a display.